I am delighted to welcome you to the Module 6 of the Critical Pillars of Sales Excellence. It's a program designed to equip you with the competencies that you require to win and thrive in today's marketplace. My name is Ferdinand M. Ibezim. So the next critical pillar required for sales excellence is to strategically engage these prospects and contacts to understand their needs. But quite unfortunately, I've seen a lot of salespeople who try to sell their products and services without first seeking to understand the needs of the prospects. No attempt to identify the specific requirements of the prospects. So a typical salesperson is usually in a hurry to demonstrate knowledge of their products and services, as well as showcase their communication and presentation skills, with the wrong assumption that prospects buy from salespeople because the prospects have been impressed by the salesperson's product knowledge or communication skills. But on the contrary, I can tell you for sure that the reality is that prospects buy because they are convinced and fully persuaded that the salesperson understands their current situation, their aspirations, and of course their business goals. That the salesperson also knows their challenges and of course has demonstrated that they and their company have the capacity to address the challenges of the prospect and then can help the prospect achieve aspirations and business goals. But how can you possibly understand the current situation, aspirations, and challenges of prospects without engaging them first? Engaging prospects before attempting to sell your services or products is indeed a critical pillar that supports effective sales presentation and product demonstration. Indeed, the 80-20 or Pareto principle is very applicable when it comes to engaging prospects and customers. So, the prospects and customers should speak 80% of the time, while you, the salesperson, should speak 20% of the time. The only way a salesperson can achieve this interaction ratio is by asking open-ended and closed questions. But before I share a very effective model for engaging your prospects, let's first of all examine the 4 stages of the sales call. So you have 4 stages of the sales call. They are opening, investigating, demonstrating capacity, and obtaining commitment. And at every stage of the sales call, there are specific objectives that you as a salesperson should seek to achieve. And to achieve these objectives, there are things that you should say and do at every stage. So at the opening phase, for instance, the first objective you should seek to achieve is to win the mind share of the prospect. In other words, to make the prospect feel comfortable with you. And you achieve that objective by exuding confidence, exchanging pleasantries with the prospect, paying genuine compliments, and by projecting a confident and friendly yet very professional disposition. The second objective that you want to achieve at this phase is to obtain the express permission of the prospect to start investigating or asking questions. And you achieve this objective by convincing the prospect that it is in their own best interest to respond to the questions you wish to ask them. I need to emphasize that it's very important, very imperative that you obtain the express permission of the prospect before you start asking questions. I'm sure you know why. It's so because some of the questions you may ask, the information you request may be just personal, very confidential, and may even appear very provocative. So you may also appear to be too intrusive. The way that your doctor or your lawyer earns your confidence when they ask you questions and you respond to those questions is the same way that you should earn the confidence of the prospect to make them respond to your questions without any reservations, concerns, or apprehensions. You know why you respond to your doctor's questions. You do so because you believe that it is in your interest to do so. That's the same way you should make your prospect feel confident about your questions. You should make them feel that it's in their own best interest to respond to your questions and your inquiries. Otherwise, they may not respond to those questions. The second phase of the sales call is the investigating phase. So having obtained the express permission of the prospect in the first phase, the second phase is where you now ask questions. Your primary objective at this stage is to understand the current situation of the prospect, their business goals and personal aspirations, the challenges they are facing, the implications of those challenges on them, and ultimately their specific needs and requirements. You achieve this objective by asking open-ended and closed questions. Like I promised, I will share a framework with which you can articulate and ask those questions, engage your prospects. But before then, let's briefly touch on the third and fourth stages of the sales call. The third stage of the sales call is demonstrate capacity. And the objective of this stage is to communicate your value proposition and demonstrate how your offerings can improve the prospect's current situation, address their problems, and help them achieve their needs and their aspirations. And you achieve this objective by making effective sales presentations, making good demonstrations. The fourth stage of the sales call is now to obtain commitment. So this is the closing phase of the sales call, where you handle objections and get the prospect to buy your product or service. So in this module, we shall be focusing on the second stage of the sales call, which is the investigating phase. This is the stage where you strategically engage your prospect by asking them questions. So I promised I would share a framework with you. So here is my fulfillment of my promise. One of the best frameworks for engaging your prospects is the SPIN model developed by Neil Rackham. SPIN is an acronym for situation, problems, implications, and need-payoff. So let's examine each of the elements of the SPIN model. The S in the SPIN model stands for situation questions. Situation questions serve as the starting point for a sales presentation. Maybe I should say, should start every sales conversation. These questions are designed to help the salesperson gather information and gain a better understanding of the prospect's current situation or the context of the prospect's business or prospect's aspirations. So the main objective of asking situation questions are, number one, to build rapport. Because situation questions provide the salesperson an opportunity to initiate a conversation without immediately delving into the prospect's problems or needs. So it's a way to build rapport and demonstrate a genuine interest in the prospect situation. Second objective is to establish a baseline, because situation questions allow you to establish a baseline understanding of the prospect's current circumstances. This might include their current processes, their systems, their team structure, or any relevant facts about their business or about them. The third objective of the situation question is to gather information. When you ask situation questions, you can collect essential information about the prospect's current state. Then, of course, situation questions also set the stage. They lay the foundation for subsequent questions in the spin model. Because once you understand the prospect's current situation, you can now transition into the problem questions to identify the challenges and pain points of the prospect. There are 5 broad areas around which you can ask situation questions. You can ask situation questions around the prospect's business, around their future, around their requirements, decision-making process, and of course, current systems. And I'd like to share with you some examples of each of these areas of the situation question, starting from the prospect's business. So some of the questions you can ask to understand a prospect's current situation. Let's use the example of a farmer. You can ask questions like, how long have you been in business? How long have you owned this farm? Tell me how your business operates. Tell me how this farm runs. Who is your target market? How many offices or branches or farms do you have? How many employees do you currently have? How many acres of land do you have? Are you cultivating all of them? On the average, how many tons of maize do you produce on each acre or from each acre? How do you distribute your produce? May I ask how much profit you make from every acre or from every ton? So those are examples of questions you can ask to understand the customer's business. The second situation question you can ask is around the future. So questions like, where do you see your farm? Where do you see your business in the next 5 years? What untapped opportunities exist in your industry? You can ask, do you have any plans for expansion? What's your revenue goal for this year? Then for current requirements or for requirements, some of the questions you can ask may also include, how do you intend to achieve your expansion plans? What would you require to expand? How do you finance your operations? What financial institutions are you currently partnering with? How quickly and efficiently are you able to meet your financial obligations or requirements? How do you power your plants? How important is it for your software to be updated quickly? What would your staff need to meet sales targets? What would you need to execute your contract seamlessly? To understand the prospect's current systems, you may ask questions like, what applications are you using currently? How do you pay your children's school fees? How do you pay staff salaries? How do you track the performance of your salespeople? How do you remit funds to your suppliers abroad? How do you prevent pests? So these are questions around current systems. If you're not sure of the prospect's position when it comes to decision making in the organization, then of course you may ask, what's the decision making process in this company? And please, may I know where you fit in? What's the company's policy regarding acquiring new products? What's the procedure regarding procurement of loans and other forms of corporate financing? Who would you discuss your software requirements with before you make a purchase? Who decides which policy and which insurance company you buy and you patronize respectively? Who would you discuss your expansion plans with? Now I have an assignment for you. I'd like you to practice situation questions around those 5 areas. So please, can you come up with 3 questions for each of the elements of the situation question. The template is contained in your workbook. The next element of the SPIN model is problem questions. That's the P there. And the main purpose of the problem question or problem questions is to identify the challenges or areas of dissatisfaction in the prospect's current situation. So it helps you to identify implied needs. Problem questions are designed to take the prospect's situation and see how they can be improved. So these questions probe for problems, difficulties, or areas of dissatisfaction. They usually would prompt the prospect to state implied needs to which you can provide solutions to. It's important to identify that these questions have a lot of value for the prospect because their interest, every prospect, every person's interest is to resolve problems. But for your problem questions to be effective, when you ask situation questions, it's very important that you listen to the prospect's responses to identify the likely challenges in the current situation of the prospect. So, for example, if I'm engaging a farmer and I ask those situation questions that I shared with you, so for instance, I would ask the farmer, after obtaining express permission to ask those questions. And let me also add that the way to obtain express permission is, for instance, with this farmer now, I would first of all say thank you so very much for this opportunity to meet with you. I'm delighted to be here. And I must say that as I was driving in, I couldn't but notice the large expanse of land that you're cultivating. The greenery, the sight was beautiful. We're very proud of farmers like you who, despite all the obstacles and challenges of your industry, still make sure that we don't go to bed hungry. So I'm indeed delighted to be here. My name is Ferdinand Ibizim, and I work for XYZ organization. In my organization, we have so many products and services with which we support farmers like you. But I don't want to assume what your needs are and what products you would need. So please, I'd like to ask you some questions. The answers therefrom would help me understand your situation and then identify the best way that my company can support you. Please, do I have your permission to ask the questions? When the farmer now says yes, I'll go to situation questions. May I ask, sir, how long have you owned this farm? Oh, 10 years. And how many acres do you have? 20 acres. You're cultivating 20 acres. He probably would say, oh no, I'm cultivating 15 acres. Wow, that's still massive. How many staff do you have? Oh, really? On the average, how many tons of maize do you harvest from 1 acre? And how much do you make from every acre? Wow, fantastic. How do you distribute your produce? Okay, use off-takers. Oh, really? Now, these are situation questions. I can include, in the next 5 years, where do you want to see your farm in? Okay. And what equipment do you use for harvesting? How do you prevent pests? So these are all situation questions. Now, when I ask those situation questions, I have to pay attention to identify if problems exist in the current situation. Now, if you're smart, I'm sure you would have noticed a problem existing in the responses from the farmer. For instance, I'd asked, how many acres do you have? The farmer had responded with 20. I'd also asked, are you cultivating the 20 acres? And he said, no, I'm cultivating 15. There may be a problem why, despite having 20 acres and making $10,000 from every acre, he's cultivating 15. Now that's the trigger for a problem question. When I asked you how many acres of land you have, sir, you had said 20. But you had gone ahead to say that you're cultivating 15. May I ask why, sir? Now, I've asked a problem question. So he may just respond with, oh, I don't have the finances to cultivate the other 5 acres. I'm taking it one after the other. Or to cultivate the other 5 acres. So now I know that his problem is finances. When I also asked him, how do you distribute your produce? He had said, I use off-takers. So I can ask, which is more profitable, off-takers or selling directly to the end users? If the response is, oh, selling directly to the end users is more profitable, there must be a problem. So the problem question may be, so why do you prefer to sell to off-takers or sell through off-takers when selling to end users is more profitable? Then he will now tell me his challenges. Maybe it's logistics, maybe it's haulage, but at least he will share his problems with me. So you can see that the problem questions, as much as possible, should be drawn from the situation questions. And that's why you should be open-minded when you're asking situation questions and pay attention to see if there are leading problem questions that you can draw from when you get to the P of the SPIN model. And I'll give you an example. For a salesperson engaging a prospect in the real estate sector, if you're selling real estate products, the problem questions you may ask could include, are there any maintenance or repair issues with your current property that you'd like to avoid in your next home? You can ask, what specific space requirements or layout preferences are essential for your new property to meet your needs? Does your current property meet those requirements? Have you established a budget or financial criteria for your next property purchase? Are there any financial concerns or constraints I should be aware of, sir? Madam, do you have any future plans or lifestyle changes that may affect your real estate needs? For instance, do you anticipate a growing family? What challenges can prevent you from achieving your real estate investment goals? Do you experience any maintenance or repair issues with your current property? Madam, can you please share any unpleasant experience you've encountered during your real estate transactions? So these are problem questions. What do you intend to achieve by these questions? To identify problems. I can also share with you other general examples or share with you questions around other areas. For instance, are you satisfied with your current loan structure? Now, even if the prospect says yes, deepen that conversation by asking, may I ask, on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is perfectly satisfied and 1 is not satisfied at all, may I ask, how would you rate your current your current bank? It's very unlikely that the prospect would rate the current bank 10 over 10. So if he says 8 over 10, which of course is satisfactory, which of course is happy, you can ask, may I ask why you didn't rate them 10 over 10? It's very likely that the prospect may now share with you the reasons why they've not rated the current bank 10 over 10. He might say, well, their speed is very good. The only challenge is that they don't send in their reports on time. And that's important to you, sir. Oh, yes, it is. So you know that when you come to pitching for your product, in addition to the features that the current bank offers, you can also talk about the speed with which you send in your reports. Other questions to identify problems would include, are you worried about fraud and reconciliation with your current system of school fees collection? Are you experiencing any challenges paying staff salaries with your current payroll structure? What's the biggest hurdle you face sourcing foreign exchange if you're engaging an importer or exporter, for instance? How seamlessly are you able to switch over from one application to another application with your current system? Why haven't you expanded to other territories with other opportunities that you said are in your industry? So as you can see, problem questions are designed to uncover and explore the prospect's challenges, their pain points, and their specific problems. But it's very important that you ask these questions to understand their needs before making a pitch. Again, I'll give you an assignment. Please come up with 4 problem questions arising from the situation questions that you asked in the first assignment I gave to you. Again, there's a framework for doing that in your workbook. Now, having gotten the prospect to share their problems with you, the next set of questions are designed to help them see the web of negative effects from these problems if they remain unresolved. And to achieve this, you have to ask implication questions. So you don't start selling immediately you hear problem questions. You have to make the prospect, open the prospect's eyes to the negative web, negative consequences of these problems if they remain unresolved. So implication questions are designed to explore the consequences and effects of the prospect's problems and challenges that we identified at the problem phase. These questions would help you delve deeper into the impact of the issues, making it clearer to the prospect why they should address these problems. Implication questions aim to create a sense of urgency and demonstrate the value of your solution. These questions are important because they develop implied needs, convert those implied needs into explicit needs. For example, in that our farmer engagement, I've asked situation questions, I've asked problem questions. Let's take one of the problems identified and deepen the problems by asking implication questions. Let's, for instance, use the 5 uncultivated acres. So I can say, you said you make $10,000 from every acre every month. That means that for every acre that you don't cultivate, you're losing potentially $10,000 every month. If you multiply that by 5 acres, that means you're losing potentially $50,000 every month. Every year, sir, is $600,000. And you say you've owned this farm for the past 10 years. So we can assume that over the past 10 years, that these 5 acres have remained uncultivated, you've potentially lost $6 million. And if we allow these 5 acres to remain fallow again for the next 10 years, that's another potential loss of $6 million. So what have I done? I've taken the conversation from just being 5 acres of uncultivated land to $12 million. Now I've shifted the prospect's attention from the huge income they are making from the 15 cultivated acres to the huge loss from the uncultivated acres. Now it's what would trigger the desire to get those 5 acres cultivated. When I now get to the point where I will sell a product that would help the farmer cultivate those 5 acres, his concern would be more about how to prevent further hemorrhage than issues about the pricing for the solution that would help him achieve that goal. Okay, so let's also use selling real estate products to provide examples of implication questions. You can ask, If the maintenance issues in your current property continue to be neglected, how much do you estimate you could spend on repairs in the coming year? How do the daily commute and the longer hours that you spend at work due to your current location affect the quality of life and time spent with your company or with your family? What opportunities for potential growth or investment do you think you might be losing by not having a property that's more strategically located? Have you considered how the layout and condition of your current property might affect its resale value when you decide to move on? How do the space limitations and layout constraints on your current home impact your family's overall quality of life and comfort? You can even ask, what concerns do you have about the safety and security of your family in your current neighborhood, and how does that affect your peace of mind? So implication questions help the prospect to see the broader implications of their problems and concerns, which can be compelling reasons for them to seek a solution. Once these implications are understood, it becomes easier for you to demonstrate how your products or services can address the issues effectively and provide significant benefits. What do you think may happen to you if you don't treat this your mild blood pressure now? That's kind of implication question a doctor would ask a patient who has a mild heart-related issue, but who probably thinks that it doesn't matter. So implication questions create the urgency. So you can either throw the implication question to the prospect to come up with the consequences, or you can suggest the consequences by analogies. So can you come up with 4 implication questions for the problems you identified in your problem question? So you can phrase the implication questions in a suggestive manner, or you can phrase them throwing back the question to the prospect to come up with the implications. The last element of the SPIN model is the need-payoff questions. Need-payoff questions are designed to help the prospect to now see the value and benefits of the proposed solution. I hope you can see the sequence of questions and how each question leads to another, and how that a question is dependent on the answer from the previous question. So they are not compartmentalized. So the need-payoff questions focus on the positive outcomes and the ways in which your product or service can meet the prospect's needs, address their challenges, prevent those implications. Need-payoff questions are intended to develop the prospect's desire for a solution to their problems. For it to be effective, the need-payoff questions should engage the prospect and make them to openly talk about the benefits of solving their problems using your own solution. But let me emphasize that it's only when the prospect recognizes the severity of the problem and the urgency to find a solution to them that it makes any sense at all to ask need-payoff questions. So again, for the farmer, a need-payoff question may be, if my bank can provide you with the financing to cultivate these 5 fallow acres of land that you have and possibly buy more land, would that be useful to you? It's very unlikely that the farmer will say no, because you've taken from situation to problem to implications, and now you're asking a need-payoff question. So let's also use selling real estate products to continue the engagement with the prospect. Need-payoff questions may include: if we're able to help you find a property that requires less maintenance, how would the potential cost savings benefit you in the long run? How would a larger, better designed home enhance your family's quality of life and overall comfort? What impact could a property with strong resale value have on your future financial security and your real estate investment? What would it mean to you to have a home that's environmentally friendly and energy efficient with the potential to reduce your utility bills? For someone selling financial services products, examples would include: if our bank is able to address the bottlenecks that you mentioned in your overseas remittances, what value would that add to your business? If we could improve the process of your collection, how will that help you improve your revenue? If we could source low-cost funding to expand your operations, what impact would that have on your business? So need-payoff questions are crucial because they help the prospect to connect to the proposed solutions, connect to their personal needs, connect to their desires and goals. When you emphasize positive outcomes and benefits, you can motivate the prospect to see the value in your product or service, making it more likely for them to buy, making it less likely for them to raise objections. So please, can you come up with 3 need-payoff questions for your products and services arising from the responses of the prospect to your implication questions? I'm sure that you already can see the benefits of the SPIN model when it comes to selling, but let's articulate them. Number 1, the SPIN model is a very effective approach in the field of sales. It is highly customer-centric because it is centered around the prospect or the customer's needs, their challenges, and their goals. So it encourages you to listen actively to the prospect's need and focus on understanding their current situation. Now, because the model places a strong emphasis on identifying and clarifying problems and challenges, they are very critical for building a compelling case for the solution that you offer. SPIN selling model is often associated with consultative selling, where you as a salesperson acts as a trusted advisor, like a medical practitioner. Number 4, by asking open-ended questions and by probing for deeper insights, you can provide tailored solutions that genuinely address the prospect's needs. Number 5, the implication and need-payoff questions in the SPIN model would help you to uncover implicit needs that the prospect may not have explicitly stated but are very important to their decision making. This again allows you to provide bespoke solutions that resonate at a deeper level. Need-payoff questions also add value because they are designed to convey value and benefits of the proposed solution. When you focus on those positive outcomes that the prospect can expect, you make a compelling case for your product or your service. Number 7 is that sales is essentially about solving problems. SPIN model, of course, equips you with a structured method to identify the problems before you can solve them. Number 8, when you better understand the prospect's needs, you are now able to demonstrate the value of the solutions. So SPIN model often results in higher closing rates and more successful sales. The spin selling model also promotes trust and fosters long-term relationship between you and your prospects. The 10th reason why the spin model is the go-to model when it comes to interaction with your prospects is that it's highly adaptable to various industries and various sales situations. So whether you're selling products or services or even complex solutions, the spin model can be customized to fit the content or context of that situation. In conclusion, I encourage you to please avoid being in a hurry to sell your offerings, no matter how valuable you think they are, without first using the spin model to dialogue and understand the situation, the pain points, the aspirations, and the need of your prospect. This pillar would provide a solid superstructure for the next module of this program. So please remember to review the case studies, the practice sessions, and the activities in your workbook. Because having understood the needs of the prospect, the next module would focus on demonstrating capacity, proving that you have the answers to the problems, implications you've identified in your engagement with the prospect. Thank you so very much for your time in this session. I trust that you've gotten real value. Remember to follow me on all social media platforms where I consistently share insightful posts, videos, and audios that will improve your personal effectiveness, your competencies, and help you exceed your revenue goals and add value to your organization and to society. Just search Ferdinand Ibezim across all the social media platforms. So please follow me, subscribe to my channels, like my posts if you do like them, and share them with your contacts. You can also contact me via the telephone numbers and email addresses that are displayed on your screen. Please don't forget to invite your friends, your colleagues, and your contacts to enroll in this program. I wish you a rewarding and fulfilling sales career. Go out there and thrive and dominate the marketplace. Thank you very much.